Today, I'm going to be adding some much needed workbench space to my basement shop with a sturdy workbench and a second one that's going to be mobile. Let's check it out. For the first bench, I'm using some 6x6 posts that I salvaged from a neighbor who's tearing their house down. Because of the thickness, I need to rotate these and make 4 passes with my miter saw to get a flat bottom. Most of these had a bracket on the other side that I removed with the Sawzall, and then I can cut to final length of 36¼ inches. I marked the spacing for the lap joints, which are going to sit 3½ inches up from the ground. I hog out most of the material with a circular saw, and then I can clean up the cut with a chisel. Quick test fit, and this one sits in there pretty tight. I do the same with the top rail, which is going to sit flush with the top of the post. And as you can see, I'm cutting lap joints into 2 adjacent sides of each post. And this is how it looks before assembly. Now I can cut my 4 rails front and back to 74¼ inches. And then my side rails are cut to 19½. I assemble the frame using 2 2½ inch construction screws at each joint and screw into place. I notice I was slightly out of square at this point, so before I secure the side rails, I use a ratchet strap to pull 2 opposite corners slightly in towards each other. Once my diagonal measurements are equal, I know I am square and I can secure into place. The middle blocking is also cut to 19½ and is screwed in from the sides. Next, I want to add some toe kicks, so I rip down some scrap 2x6s to use as additional blocking. I pre-drill to countersink the screws. My thought here is if I attach the toe kick directly to the side rail, I might not have enough depth. By adding the blocking, my toe kick will now be 3 inches deep, which should be more than enough. I rip down some 1/2 inch plywood to the proper width, and then need to cut just a couple of notches to work around the supporting 2x4s. And now the toe kick is done. For the bottom shelf, I'm using 1/2 inch OSB, which I freehand rip down to length, and then rip down to final width on the table saw. The notch for each corner post cut out on the jigsaw. The bench is starting to get pretty heavy at this point, so I move it to its final position along this wall before I attach the bottom shelf. For the top, I'm using this 1 3/4 inch thick solid core door. But as you can see, it has this louvered portion that I'd like to close up so I'm not constantly losing items through the slats. The circular saw makes quick work of this. Now this was an oversight. We've had some foundational work done in our basement, which left us these dead man anchors in the walls, and the bolt happens to line up perfectly with the edge of the workbench. As much as I didn't want to do this, I also didn't want to redesign the entire bench, so I cut a small notch around the bolt so the bench top can sit more snug against the wall. Now I attach some ripped down scrap 2x4s to plug the hole from the bottom. And I rip some 3/4 inch plywood to size. Now I can add a 1-inch spacer on top of each board, which gives me a flush fit to the top of the bench. To finish out the sturdy workbench, I install the vise. The vise is held down with a carriage bolt, and I can cut off the excess with a grinder. The mobile workbench will be a similar design with a few changes. I cut the 4x4 posts to 34¼ inches. The lap joints sit 4 inches up from the bottom. Considering this one won't have a toe kick, I wanted a little bit more space to reach underneath to grab anything that rolls under the bench. This bench will have a larger overhang on each end, so I cut the rails to 67¼ inches, and the side rails are cut to 17 inches. I couldn't do the double lap joints here, so these are attached with pocket screws. I use carriage bolts to assemble these frames. The bolts are left over from a previous project where I made a workbench for my garage. If you haven't had a chance to check out that video, I'll link it for you here. That build was a lot of fun, and it included some custom cabinets as well as a panel glue up for the top. The end rails are attached with pocket screws. And then I can drill the countersink where I'm going to attach the middle support with a shorter screw. The bottom shelf drops into place. And then for both benches, I attach the top to the base using a 90-degree angled bracket and 1-inch lag bolts. For the final step, I'm adding these heavy-duty casters that can be easily raised and lowered. I picked these up off Amazon for about 28 bucks, and I think they're going to work pretty well. For the sturdy bench, I finished with a 2.5-inch overhang on the front and the sides, 5-inch overhang in the back. On the mobile bench, we have a 6-inch overhang on each end and a 3-inch overhang on each side. I hope you enjoyed this build. If you feel I earned it and you'd like to subscribe to the channel, that would mean a lot to me. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.